we wanted to build a 300 bed super specialty hospital and equip the hospital from GE or Philips or Siemens for $6 million. And we wanted to build this hospital in 6 months.
You like challenges. You like challenges.
The construction company took the challenge. So this is the model. They took 1 year to plan.
6 million, 6 months.
Yeah. And in this hospital, there is only ground floor construction so that you can build very fast. And there is no lift, there is no fire safety, the cost is much less. And here, the air conditioning is only in the operating room and the ICU. Ward and the patient area has no air conditioning. It's in a place called Mysore, which is close to this place. We live in houses in India without air conditioning. My house has no air conditioning. We have fan with large windows. So we thought, why should a hospital be air conditioned? Central air conditioning doesn't prevent infection. It is the commonest source of infection in most hospitals. Best sanitizer for a hospital is fresh air and sunlight. Your wound always heals better if you expose it to the fresh air and sunlight. So we designed it that way. And in this hospital, postoperative care after the surgery in the ward is not offered by the nurses. We worked with Stanford University. We developed a curriculum in 4 hours using audio, video, visuals. You can train a spouse to be the nursing care provider. She's taught how to do the wound dressing, when to give the medicines, maintain the input-output chart, give physiotherapy. Everything can be trained in 4 hours. The idea is, after 3 days when we said, normally what happens in a hospital, we don't allow the family members to touch the patient. We say that you can't touch, it's against the policy. 4 days after the surgery, we call the wife, give her one plastic bag with all the medicines and tell her now you look after your husband. She goes home, she's lost, she doesn't know what to do with the husband. So why not you use them in the hospital and educate them? Surgeons are creative people. If you put a creative person in an artificial light without a window, within 2 hours, your creativity will be lost. So we create the operating rooms at the periphery of the building, and we create large windows. And between theaters, we create glass windows, and outside in the corridor. So when you are operating, you feel as if you are in the middle of a large gallery. And we have a nice music at the background. We make operation theatre a very creative place because we work from morning till evening, 6 days a week. So it's important to change the way the operation theatres are built. Going forward, the way the hospitals are built will undergo dramatic change. Hospitals will have, supposing a 100-bed hospital, 200-bed hospital. 200-bed hospital will have 25 operating rooms and 150, 180 critical care beds, but only 10, 20 ward beds. Because everything what is done in the ward will be done at home for remote monitoring. When you say a hospital, hospital will have only critical care beds. So we are trying to develop, that will have a big impact on the way we run the hospital. You will not need ward nurses, you will need thousands and thousands of critical care nurses who can manage a patient on a ventilator, on a balloon pump, on ECMO, all kinds of devices. So their training has to change. So we are working with the CAE system of Canada to develop a simulator to train the critical care nurse. If you look at a critical care nurse, when you look at her, you think she's doing a lot of things. but she does only 97 tasks. There are only 97 tasks she does. She does it repeatedly. So all these tasks can be simulated. And a busy critical care nurse encounters in a cardiac ICU only 20 cardiac arrests per year. That takes 1 year. So you can train her to address 20 cardiac arrests in 2 hours in a simulator. So our intention is to reduce the training period of a critical care nurse from 5 years to 1 year using simulation. And it's possible. The F-16 fighter planes are, the pilots are taught on a simulation. Experience is nothing but the encounter with the simulation. We just simulate. See the difference. You see the problem with the nursing education or medical education. So we go to the universities. Universities give you the knowledge, but they don't give you the skill. Whereas if you go to a driving school, they don't give you the knowledge, but they will give you the skill. They will put you on a driver's seat, they will teach you how to drive. So we want to train the nurses like a driving school. So when the nurses join us, we want to put them on a simulation, train them. Because outcome of cardiac surgery will not be decided by the skill of the surgeon. It will be decided by the nurse who is looking after the kid at 12 o'clock at night. If she is not good, she will muck it up, you have serious problem, then you can't sort it out. So the entire concept of training has to undergo dramatic change. We are an academic institution. We train surgeons. So we have a large number of residents.
And cardiologists?
Again, a very large number.
And how do you keep the doctors motivated? Because they have to work hard. They're not at home at 6 o'clock. So how do you keep them motivated?
You see, when you are constantly trying to help poor people, people who are working who always get motivated. Because they know that they are not doing it only for the sake of money. A different kind of people join this organization, who want to work hard, who want to do. And it's very exciting for them because we give them challenge. Like we always identify one area. Like my colleague, when the endovascular intervention started, we told him that, see, most of the patients with aneurysm are poor, and endovascular intervention is very expensive. But we sponsored all the operations so he can get the expertise.
So you give them the opportunity to specialize in the field they enjoy, and so that they are getting better.
All the others send the patients to them, so they get a lot of expertise. Then they standardize it. Once it is standardized, then all the others will start.
You describe what I would say outcomes of a thinking process. You say it's more natural to have natural light. You say nurses learn more from experience than from books. So you implement learning from experience with a simulator. So you have windows in operating rooms. But what makes me so curious is what thinking process, where does it start with you? When do you come up with these ideas? What do you do to think of these things?
You see, we have a great respect for the human wisdom. Like when I'll give an example. You're talking about the nursing training.
Yeah.
The policy across the world is there. If you're doing a hernia operation, the person who hands over the surgical instrument should be a BSc in nursing. Right? Does it really? Does she need to be a BSc? BSc in nursing is a very, very evolved course in any part of the world. Because it's not a rocket science that she's handing over, so it's a mundane, repetitive job. I think she's too qualified, and we underestimate the capability of a person who's not a BSc. Have you seen this painting? You know, it's a beautiful painting. I love this painting, so I put it in this place. Can anybody guess who the painter is? Sorry? No. It is painted by a trained elephant in Thailand. They train elephants to do this painting. Can't we train girls from the villages to hand over a surgical instrument when we do the heart operation? It is possible. That's what we have done. This elephant, I was there, and the elephant, the trainer was telling the elephant, and elephant was taking the brush in his trunk, and the trainer pointed out at the thing and started painting.
Yeah, but what I like is that you then relate that to the way you train nurses here, and that you hang it here so you can explain it. That's good.
Our intention is to reduce the cost of a heart operation to $800 from the point of admission to point of discharge. Surgery is $1,800 now, but our target is to reduce it to $800.
And how? How am I going to do this?
Right now, about 10% of the heart surgery done in India is done by our group. We have 22 hospitals, and each hospital, some hospitals, like we do very large numbers, but other hospitals do, some in Calcutta we do 10 to 12 heart surgeries a day. This industry is very sensitive to the numbers. As we operate 6 days a week, and we operate for between 12 to 14 hours every day. Our operating rooms get utilized. See, the salary structure in this country is much less compared to your country. In your country, about 65% of your cost goes for the salaries. In our hospital, it's about 25 to 27%. We want to bring it down to less than 20%. Our main cost is the material cost, which is about 30%. All over the country, when surgery is done, they use the linen gowns. That's how it was in Europe. Now we are using disposable gowns. We did the cost, around 5 years ago, we decided to switch over to disposable gowns and drapes. When we used linen, it was costing us about 1,800 rupees per heart operation. That's roughly, because linen lasts only 60 washes. Then you have to wash it and iron it and autoclave it. It's very expensive. It comes to 1,800 rupees per operation. So there are 2 companies in India they were making disposable gowns and drapes. One was 3M, other one is Kimberly-Clark. So we approached them as a package. We were willing to give them about 22,500 rupees we are willing to give. We are spending 1,800 rupees for linen, but we are willing to give more, 2,500 rupees for the disposable. They wanted us to pay 5,000 rupees per operation. We offered them 10% of the Indian market. With one contract they can get, but they refused to come down. Then we got hold of some young entrepreneurs in Bangalore. We showed them the 3M gowns. If you look at the material, this is made by Alstom. Whether it's 3M or Kimberly-Clark or anybody, it's made by Alstom. So we got the material. The only difference these people add is the cutting and stitching. And we have thousands of young ladies who can cut and stitch. We are very active garment industry. So we hired those girls and they started cutting, and we have very nice automobiles. And they started a company called Emirates. And we gave them the contract. We told them that when they start, initially there will be mistakes, but we will try. And then we know they will get better. Today they have the largest market share in India. And we are paying them 900 rupees. That is half of what we were paying for the ring. And our sterilization department is free. They have no work.
But it's less than 20% of the original offer of the existing firms.
Also what they have done, you see, these guys really worked with all of us and they changed everything to suit our requirement. Now this company has got CE marking. Now they want to export it to Europe. And we have a partner in the US. It's a chain called Ascension Health. They own about 22,000 beds in the US. And we partnered with them. We are building a hospital in Cayman Island. They are our partners. Our hospital in Cayman Island will be ready on the 25th of February. So Ascension Health wants them to get the US FDA approval so they can export it to US. All the price of healthcare is opportunistic pricing. It's not the real price. 10 years ago, we convinced 1.7 million farmers to contribute 11 cents per month. The idea is to give them insurance for surgeries. There are 1640 varieties of surgeries done on the human body. So we covered all these operations. With 11 cents, we did the calculation, which is possible, and government agreed to become a reinsurer in case there is a excess cost over it. So this is how we started. And it became very successful. And we networked with 400 hospitals across the state. So they can go to any of the hospitals, get the operation done free of cost. Starting from gallbladder, hysterectomy, cataract, heart operation, brain operation. Everything is done free of cost. 10 years later, now the premium is 22 cents. It's not 11 cents anymore.
A month, a year?
Sorry?
A month.
Month. 11 cents per month. 10 years later, 550,000 farmers had varieties of surgeries. And 55,000 farmers had heart operation. All this happened with 11 cents per month.
That's for the operation. And how about pharmaceuticals?
In the hospital, everything is covered. Once they go out, the cost of medicines are very cheap here. Very, very cheap.
So this is for all.
We have the largest number of US FDA approved drug manufacturing units outside US. Surgery is free of cost and any medicine used during operation is paid by us. But when they go home, they will buy it. But medicines are very cheap. We believe India will become the first country in the world to dissociate healthcare from affluence. India will prove to the world that the wealth of the nation has nothing to do with the quality of healthcare its citizens can enjoy. Which country has the best healthcare delivery? It's Cuba. Why? Cuba, they have highest number of doctors. They don't follow any of the regulations. Some of the best drugs in cancer are invented in Cuba. See, we have to understand one fundamental aspect of healthcare. Why healthcare can be given to everyone in this planet. If today Indian government decides to give a car to every citizen of the country, it is not possible because every component of the car is made up of finite components like steel, petrol, lead. God doesn't make them anymore. So as you start using it, the price will go up, then you have to stop providing it. But healthcare delivery is not limited by any finite competence. Healthcare is essentially given by skilled people like us. And human beings are replenishable. So when we all die, younger generation will come and they will get trained. As we train more people can do it. So in our lifetime, we can give healthcare to every citizen of this world. There are two things which will change the way the healthcare is delivered. One is converting the atoms into bytes. I'll give an example. See the eye care software we have developed. We have spent a lot of money, a lot of resources, everything. Finally, I have an eye care software. One day I decide to give you my software. You can have my software without paying for it, and I can give it to you without me losing what I have. See, if I have 1 kilo of rice, I give you half a kilo of my rice. I lost my half a kilo of rice. Whereas if I have the eye care software, I developed it. I can give you what I have. I still have what I have. That will dramatically change the concept of economy and barter and business. Today, converting atoms into bytes will give you a phenomenal opportunity to give the whole world what you have without you really losing it. The second thing which will change the way the healthcare is delivered is replacing the moving parts into printed circuit boards. I'll tell you how it works. You look at a car. Car is made up of a lot of moving parts. There is a limit to which you can reduce the price of a car because it's made up of so many moving parts. But look at the Echo machine. Look at the Echo machine which was made 20 years ago. Look at so many moving parts. Today's Echo machines do not have a moving part. It is nothing but printed circuit boards. Now, when you are making a printed circuit board to fly a F-16 fighter plane or a toy plane, the cost is the same. What differentiates is the software which is driving. And we have engineers who can write software for anything. So once the moving parts get replaced with PCBs, cost of CT scan, MRI, cath lab, they will come down by 80% to 90%. So everything is going to change. So you see, whatever we do in our country, we are all right. Our task is to ensure Africa and Asia, rest of the Asia, has decent health. That they will, if you look at Africa, if you look at poor quality health, it is nothing to do with their wealth. If you go to African hospitals, they are more equipped than our hospital here. All those African countries, they get a huge amount of grants, donation, they get heart lung machines, cardiac monitors, everything is available. But they have no human skill to run them. If you go to any of the government hospitals in India, they are better equipped than my hospital. But simply there aren't people. Why there aren't people? Because we are not allowing medical education and the skill to be imparted and given to millions of people. So I was trying to convince Mr. Bill Gates that we should create a global medical university. You identify the best talented people to write the curriculum to train a doctor. And this global university should be in collaboration with Gates Foundation and WHO. And all the signatory countries should recognize the degree. Why is it important? Indonesia is a very populous country. They produce less number of children than us, but it's a huge country. In the whole country, there is only 1 or 2 cardiac surgeons who can operate on the babies. We wanted to send our surgeons to do the operation. They, instead of saying we don't want to recognize the degree because they don't want the competition, They told our surgeon that we have to learn and to read and write our language. If I don't speak Indonesian language, can't I operate on Indonesian kids? No. So the problem of healthcare, what we see, it is not poverty, it is not government, it is us. We are very insecure about our position. So we try to keep it very exclusive. Once we open up and try to train more people, all those countries will have good quality.